Namaste students, I am Shobha, Science Faculty from Mangala Vidya Mandira. Today, let us learn the chapter 10, that is gravitation. So you have heard about this word gravitation in almost many of the incidents. So hope you at least know what is this gravitation. So gravitation is nothing but the force which is exerted by the earth on the different substances on the earth. So let us learn more about this gravitation and the laws related to this gravitation. So gravitational force of the earth are generally called as gravity. It is a force which is necessary to produce motion in a body. A body which is dropped from a height will fall towards the earth. This is because the earth exerts some force of attraction which is called as gravity on that body. In fact, the earth attracts all the objects towards its center. The force with which the earth pulls the object towards it is called as gravitational force of the earth, or commonly called as gravity. The gravitational force between the sun and the earth keeps the earth in a circular uniform motion around the earth. So gravitational force of the earth is highly responsible for following activities. The first one, for holding the atmosphere above the earth. Second one, for the rain falling to the earth. Third one, the flow of water in the river is also because of this gravitational force for keeping us firmly on the earth. That is, all life on the earth are firmly attached to the earth is because of this force, and the revolution of the moon around the earth is also because of this gravitational force. So, and the next one is why this gravitational force is important. This you would have not guessed. The gravitational force between the earth and the moon also causes tides on the sea. Hence, during the full moon day, there will be high tides. Just you can correlate with the gravitational force. The gravitational force between earth and the moon causes tides. So during full moon day, so moon will be in its full strength, so more force will be there, more strength, attraction will be there between the earth and the moon, so high tides will be seen on full moon day. So let us learn about the laws of gravitation. We know what is gravitation, and it was the same Newton. Last chapter what we have studied, force and laws of motion, where Newton played a very important role in deriving the laws, right? In the same way, the same Newton was also playing a main role in deriving the laws of this gravitation. So according to this law of gravitation, every body in the universe attracts with each other with the force which is directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So, consider two substances or two bodies, each having mass m1 and m2. The distance between these two objects with the mass m1 and m2, let it be r. So according to the law of gravitation, what does it says? The force, that gravitational force F, is directly proportional to the product of masses, that is m1 and m2. That is the first thing. Second thing, that same force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. So here the distance we represented as r, right? So square. So F is inversely proportional. Inversely means 1 over r square. So this is equation and equation 2. So from equation 1 and 2 you can see students, LHS is same, so you can equate RHS. So when you equate RHS, F is proportional to m1 into m2 divided by r2. So you want to remove that proportionality sign, so now you have to introduce a constant. So here we introduce a constant called capital G. What is this? Nothing but gravitational constant, universal gravitational constant. So what is this universal gravitational constant? About this we'll learn later on. So F is equals to G into m1 into m2 divided by r square. This is the formula which is used to calculate the gravitational force. Coming to the properties of this gravitational force. So gravitational force is the weakest force in the nature, and it is also attractive force. It is a mutual force. Mutual force means only two bodies are involved. If no two bodies are involved, you can't experience this force. It is a central force. It always tries to pull the object towards the center. It is mass and distance dependent, means it is a vector quantity. It obeys inverse square law. So that you will learn in your higher classes what is inverse square law. And it is a long range force. Even though the two bodies are at a very long distance, this force can be exerted on it. It does not depend upon the medium between the interacting bodies, whether it is having air medium or vacuum. It does not consider anything. So without a medium also this force will be acting. So this is all the properties of gravitational force. So next, as I told, we'll learn about this universal gas gravitational constant now, that is G. So if you rearrange the previous formula, so when you put all the terms to right hand side except this G, what is G? Gravitational constant to the left hand side, all the other to the right hand side. So we will get the formula for G, that is F is equal F into R square divided by M1 into M2. So this again, here you are having the properties of this G, where its value is always a constant, 6.67 into 10 power minus 11, and its unit is Newton meter square per kg square. So if you substitute all the values, if the masses is 1 and 1 and the distance between them is 1 meter, gravitational constant will be always equal to the gravitational force. So gravitational constant equal to gravitational force which exists between two bodies when their masses are kept unit and its distance between them is always unit. That is, unit means 1. So please remember the two formulas where you have to solve the problems. So this we have already discussed, students, what is the importance where this universal law of gravitation will be used. Next, the important topic is free fall. When a body falls from a height towards the earth only under the influence of the gravitational force, means without any other force acting on it, then the body is said to be free fall. So the body having a free fall is called as freely falling body. So Galileo proved that this acceleration of an object falling freely towards the earth does not depend on the mass of the object. Whether it is an heavy object or a lightweight object, both will fall onto the ground at an equal thing. So that is what we can use a coin and a feather, an heavy thing and a lightweight thing. So just try to drop it from a same height, so you can experience. Imagine that the vacuum is created in that space where it is a glass jar. So the feather and the coin is made to fall with the same acceleration and reach the ground at the same time. So irrespective of the medium, so whether it an heavy object or a lightweight object will have a free fall. Next, we'll come to the next topic, acceleration due to gravity. So we have studied separately the concept of acceleration, student. What is acceleration? It is nothing but the rate of change of velocity. If the velocity changes due to the gravitational force, then we call it as acceleration due to gravity. This is an uniform acceleration which is produced by a free falling body. We have already know what is acceleration, what is gravity, and what is a free falling body. So combining all these three things, we get this acceleration due to gravity, that is represented by small g, where its value is always a constant 9.8 meter per second square. So for calculation purpose, during your problems, you can just approximate this 9.8 as 10 meter per second. So if you want to calculate this, so you have to take the universal gravitational law, that is F is equals to G m into m1 into m2. Instead of that, we have taken capital M into small m. So what is capital M? The mass of the earth. Small m is the mass of the object present on the earth. R is the distance between the center of the earth and the object. So, and we also know this formula, last chapter, F is equals to m into a, that is Newton's second law of motion. F equals to m into a. What is a? Acceleration. So instead of acceleration, we'll substitute it as g, because g is nothing but acceleration due to gravity. So F is equal to m into g. So from these two equations, students, you can see LHS is equal, so you can equate RHS. So if you equate RHS and simplify it and calculate the value of g, so g, that is small g, that is equals to capital G into m whole thing divided by r square. So this is the formula for acceleration due to gravity. So this acceleration due to gravity, students, it will be different for different cases. So in the first case, if that acceleration due to gravity decreases with the altitude, altitude means height, so you have to add r plus h. Instead of just r, you have to add plus h. You have to take the height. For example, you are considering the earth, and at certain height above the earth the object is there. So you should take the r value, that is the radius of the earth, plus the height at which that object is placed, that is r plus h. So suppose if that object is very deep inside the earth or inside the earth, then you have to take it as r minus h whole square. So if you consider that object is present on the poles of the earth, then you have to take it as rp. This rp square means radius of the poles, the square. So these are the three cases we have to consider the acceleration due to gravity. So this formulas also you should remember while calculating the problems. Next, this you have to note it down, students. Some important conventions where you have to use during solving the problems. So G will be always taken as negative. So when a body is dropped from initial means U will be equals to 0. So just go through these points, so which will be used for your problem solving process. Next, mass and weight. So these two words you would have used still now as the same concepts, mass and weight. You would have considered both of them as the same. But here we'll get a clarification. Mass is different from weight. So let us first see what is about mass. So mass of a body is the quantity of a matter contained in it. So what is the quantity? So mass of a body is a measure of inertia of a body, hence it is called as inertial mass. So you know about inertia, last chapter we have discussed about inertia. So what is that actual mass of the body? That is what is related to inertia. It's a scalar quantity. Scalar means it is depending only on the quantity, not on the direction. And its unit, as we know, it is kg. If it is simplified unit, it is grams. And mass of a body is constant and that does not change from one place to another place. Wherever you go, the mass remains the same. Mass is measured in the common balance, and mass of the body cannot be 0. None of the object will have a mass as 0. So as you can see, the mass of the body has certain weight wherever you go. So now compared to the weight, what is the weight? Weight of a body on the earth is the force with which it is being attracted towards the center of the earth. So without gravitational force, we can't experience weight. So weight is given by mass into acceleration. When the mass has been, when that entire mass of an object is being attracted by the earth, then you will get the weight. That is what the formula W is equals to m into g. This unit of weight is Newton. That is nothing but force, one and the same. And it's always a vector quantity where it depends upon both magnitude and the direction and the weight will change from one place to another place. It is always measured in a spring balance. Mass was measured in a common balance and the weight is measured in a spring balance. As you can see above, that is a spring balance, students. So weight of a body can be 0. Okay, when a body is taken at the center of the earth, the acceleration due to gravity will be 0 at that center, hence the weight will become 0. On the moon, the acceleration of the gravity is nearly 1/6 of that of the earth, hence the weight of the body on the moon is 1/6 of its weight of the substance on the earth. So any substance, its weight on the earth will be different from the weight of its on the moon, but mass will remain the same. So hope you got the difference between mass and weight, students. So let us see this in the next problem solving methods. Now another concept is thrust and pressure. Pressure you would have known, everyone, but today we'll calculate the formula for pressure also. Before going for the pressure, we'll go for the thrust. See students, here you have then two table on which the two blocks are being kept. When a blunt pin has been applied on this, it does not go into that wood. Whereas when a sharp pin has been used, it will be goes into the wood with the same amount of force. In two cases we apply same force, but first case it is a blunt pin, in the second case it is a sharp pin. So thus the effect of force depends upon the area of the object on which it is acting. So blunt end, when the pin is very blunt, the area is more. When the pin is very sharp, the area is less. So it, in the same force, it can be pierced inside that wood. So you can say that weight of a body is also a force and it always acts in the downward direction. Observe these two different position of the brick on the ground, another activity. Okay, both the bricks exerts the same amount of pressure. What the difference is? One brick is in the vertical position, other one brick is in the horizontal position. Both of them are the same weight. So does it exert some force on the earth? Yes, obviously it exerts the same amount of force on the earth because they have the same weight, but the two bricks exert different pressure. Force is same, but the pressure is different. So it is due to the contact with the ground. So that is activity, that is acceleration due to gravity. A lying brick exerts less pressure on the ground, whereas the standing brick exerts more pressure on the ground. That is because the area. So if the area is more, it is less pressure. If the area is less, it is more pressure. Therefore, the pressure depends upon force applied, the first one. The second one, the area on which it is acting. So how much force you are applying, on which area, how much area it is acting. So these are the two cases on which the pressure depends. So you can derive a formula. Pressure depends upon the force and pressure also depends upon the area. P equals to F by A. So the unit of pressure, it is Newton per meter square, or else you can go for in short form, that is Pascal. Force is a vector quantity, but still pressure is a scalar quantity because it does not depend upon any particular direction, only it depends upon the magnitude. At the same time, if the pressure is applied on the surface when the resulting force is a vector quantity, since it is the direction of the effect of pressure on the surface. So pressure can also be defined in the terms of thrust. So what is thrust? Instead of force, you can express in terms of thrust. Thrust is nothing but a force acting on perpendicular to its surface area. Thrust per unit area is called as pressure, or instead of force you write it down as pressure is equals to thrust by area. So these are the different day-to-day observation where we are considering the pressure. The school bags have the white straps. So in order to balance it, where the area, if it is more, the pressure will be less, hence the bags will be having the wider strips. The next, the sharp knife cuts better than the blunt knife, because again area will be less and the pressure will be more. Tip of the needle is made sharp, same principle, that is thrust. Pressure of the ground is more than the man is walking than the man who is standing. Depression is much more when a man stands on the cushion than he lies down or sits down, because when he lies down or sits down, the area occupied will be more, so pressure will be less. So when he sits or stands, the area occupied is less, so pressure will be more. So again, the tractors have a broad tire so that there is a less pressure on the ground. And second, next one is, it is easier to walk on a soft sand if we have a flat shoes rather than the short shoes with the sharp heels. Foundation of the building and the dams are laid broad at the bottom because to reduce the pressure. So these are the different everyday observation which is based on this pressure. So let us now move to the pressures in liquid. So how does the pressure acts on the liquid? The substance which can flow easily are called as fluids. All liquids and gases are called as fluids. Like solids exerts pressure due to their weight, liquids also have some weight and they also exert some pressure. But a fluid exerts pressure in all directions, sidewards, downwards, and even upwards. So let us come to that concept called as buoyancy. The buoyancy is because of the pressure exerted by fluids. When an object is placed in a fluid, the fluid exerts an upward force on it. It is easy to lift a stone as long as it is inside water, but feels heavy if it is lifted above the water. This is because the liquid will be exerting some force or pressure on that stone. A mug of water inside the water appears lighter, but if it feels heavier when it is lifted above the water. Therefore, the object appears to be less heavy when submerged in liquid than in air. But this shows that every liquid exerts an upward force on the object which is immersed in it. This tendency of an liquid which exerts an upward force on an object which is placed on it is called as buoyancy. So this buoyancy is very useful in different cases, students, causes the boat which is floating on the water. Some substances starts for floating and some substances start sinking in the water. So both of them let us study later on. So this is called as upward thrust. Upward thrust means the thrust or the pressure exerted by the liquid on the substance above it, hence it is called as up thrust. So what causes this buoyancy? When a mug is inside the water, the pressure from the sides are equal and no net force is available. But pressure at the bottom of the mug is more due to the depth of the water and is less at the top due to the less depth of the water. The difference in the pressure exerts net upward force called as upthrust or buoyant force. The mug, usually made of plastic, is lighter than water and is pushed up due to this upward thrust. Simply, if you want to tell, so water will be exerting some pressure on the substance which is present on the water. So in the same sign, the substance will also exert some equal pressure on the water, but compared to the two pressure, the water exert more pressure, so the substance starts floating or it will become heavier. So this, you can see the different objects are different cases, where the object is just floating in air. In the second case, the object is being partially immersed in water. In the third case, the object is fully immersed in water. So in the first case, the weight of the substance is 60 grams, and the second case it is 50, and the third case is 40. So as it is been immersed inside the water, the weight will become less. But as you try to pull out the water away from the water, then the weight will be more. So these are the different factors which affects buoyancy. The first one is the volume of the object. What is the volume of the object which is immersed in the liquid? Second one is the density of the object or the density of the liquid. So as the volume of the solid object immersed inside the liquid increases, the upthrust or the buoyancy also increases. When the solid is fully immersed, the buoyancy becomes maximum. So the buoyant force depends on the volume but not on the nature of the solid object. Volume, that is what size of the object we are immersing. That is, if two balls of equal size but different metals are immersed in the liquid, both of them experiences the same buoyant force. It does not depend upon the nature of the solid. The second one is liquid having higher density exerts more buoyant force compared to the liquid having less density. We'll consider this example. So where you are having two liquids, one is water, another one is mercury. So on both the liquids we are going to drop an iron block. So in the first case, the iron block will be sinking inside water because water density is less. But in the second case, mercury is a liquid which is having more density, so it will not allow the iron block to sink, it will start floating. So this is nothing but the factors on which the buoyant force depends. The next concept is Archimedes principle. So when an object is wholly or partially immersed in a liquid, it experiences a force, buoyant force, which is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by the object. So whatever the object is being immersed in the water, the same amount of water will be expelled out of that beaker. This shows that buoyant force acting on an object will be equal to the weight of the liquid which is displaced by its object. So this is what is your Archimedes principle, where it has been applied as it is used to determine the relative density of substances. So density is there. What is relative density? I'll be explaining later on. So next one is hydrometers. Hydrometer is the one which is used to measure the density of the liquids, so which is also based on Archimedes principle. The third one is lactometer. It is a device used to measure the purity of milk, which is also based on this Archimedes principle. And the third one is it is used to design the ships and submarines. That designing work is also based on this Archimedes principle. So next, as I told, some substances starts floating and some substances start sinking into the liquid. So why is this? So why not all the substance floats? Why not all the substance sinks? That is because of the weight and buoyancy. So if the weight and buoyancy is equal, that is weight of the object is equal to the weight of the buoyant force expelled by the water or any liquid, if it is equal, then the substance starts floating. But if the buoyant force is less and the weight of the substance is more, and that time the substance starts sinking into the liquid. This is the reason why the object floats or object sinks in the liquid. So this principle of flotation, that is why it is floating on the water objects. So when a weight of a object is equal to the weight of a liquid, then it will be floating. So that is what is I told. That is again depending upon the density of the floating object. An object will float in a liquid if its density is less than that of the liquid. An object will float in a liquid if its density is equal to that of liquid. An object will sink in the liquid if its density is more than that of the liquid. So these are the three cases in which the floating or sinking process happens. The last one is relative density. So you would have studied about density. Density is nothing but mass by volume of a substance. But what is this relative density? Relative density is the density of that substance to that of the density of a water. So density of water is a constant. So when you compare it to the density of any substance, that will give you RD. RD is relative density. So relative density is also measured in terms of mass. Mass of a substance to the mass of an equal volume of water also gives you the relative density. It does not have any SI unit, students, because both of them are mass and mass. It cancels out. Both of them are the ratio of density and density. It will be cancelled out. Hence it will not be having any unity. Hope you have understood the topics. So if you have understood the topics, this activity is to be done. So you have to explain why do you think the boat float on water, and explain the same. If it is if you know the answer, you have to explain the reason with the principle along with the diagram. So this is to be done in your project books. Thank you.